All right, hello, friends. Chris Macmillan here with Autonomy Season 1. I'm here with Simon Krimms. Simon is the author of Rollerdog, a very interesting and intriguing children's book. Simon, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today.
No, yeah.
Yeah, no problem. You're from Australia and you live in Japan, is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
How
So
long
I've been
how long you been there?
years now, so I've kind of become a bit Japanese.
Excellent. What part of Japan are you living in? Or which area?
Osaka.
Okay.
Osaka. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to pretend to, I'm not going to give you that glazed over look. I'm going to say, well, I'm not sure where that is instead of smile and pretend that I know where it is.
500 kilometers west of Tokyo, so it's it's the second largest city after Tokyo.
Well, I certainly should know that. I'm always learning geography, always learning. What about Rollerdog? It's an excellent book. My kids love it. We've had it for several years. The story is fun. The imagery it never ends. The imagery never ends. What motivated you to write it? What's the backstory with that?
Okay, so in 2005, I came to Japan in 2004, and in 2005 I watched Loose Change Second Edition. This is going back old school 9/11 truth stuff. It was one of the first 9/11 truth films to come out, and in that film I saw Building 7 collapse, and that was really intriguing, and it just sent me on a kind of a spiral of research into 9/11, and I became incredibly angry, and quite quickly realized, actually prior to that I'd had some suspicions about it, but nothing along the lines of what we know now about that event. And I started writing a book about 9/11, which I might do in the future, but I kind of feel like 9/11 has been done to death. And then in 2007 or 2008, the financial crisis occurred, and I realized that the book about 9/11, well, at the same time I've been researching and starting to realize that there was the rabbit hole went way deeper than 9/11, of course, right? And so I started working on the Rollerdog book as a way to kind of cover a lot more territory than the previous book I've been working on solely about 9/11. And the reason why I started doing kids' books is just that was my skill set. I can draw, and it's also, the people we're trying to work against have been focusing on children for a very long time, and mainly in the truth movement, there's a lot of focus on pulling adults out of the matrix, and not so much on kind of developing an alternative or a dissident a dissident approach to children's education, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason behind that.
Yeah. The School Such project with Brett Venant, are you familiar with his work?
Yeah. I haven't. I mean, to be honest, since I published the Rollerdog book, my direction has taken, my focus of research and reading has taken in a different direction. But I used to listen to a lot of kind of ANCAP stuff, and his work probably about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I am familiar.
Yeah. He's got pretty much the same idea. It revolves around because the whole public indoctrination system, that's where they get them young. So by keeping your kids out of school, that's a solution. And if you can't do that, then just make sure they know the alternate truth, embedding by teaching critical thinking, these kind of skills, because not everybody can pull their kids out of school depending where they are as well. It is a very serious topic.
It's probably, sooner or later it's going to be illegal to homeschool, probably in some states, I'd say. Like, or at least they'll try to do that anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We know that would be ideal for the powers that shouldn't be, but it's the homeschooling situation in the U.S. is looking pretty strong, and we also experienced a little bit of it in Spain, which was a strange situation. It's a very gray area there. It's not legal, nor is it illegal, and there is a massive gathering of homeschoolers there as well. So people are waking up, from what I see. For everybody has their own reasons for pulling their kids out of school, but yeah, the indoctrination system is where it begins.
Can I ask where you're located?
I'm an hour east of Dallas at the moment.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And did your kids go to school for any time, or they just you've always homeschooled them?
Yeah. They've never stepped foot in a school. Yeah. Maybe if they want to go to university when they're older, that's up to them. But by then, they will know the game that they're involved with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the plan. Your website at Krimms.com, I just wanted to read this introduction here. Rollerdog is a book designed for little people growing up in a brave new world order. I love that. Of the 21st century. Rather than instilling fear in young minds, the storyline about Humphrey the Rollerdog creates an image of hope. However, the pictures are crafted for deeper interpretation by adult readers, compose a message of warning. I thought that was brilliant. That pretty much sets the stage for what Rollerdog is about. How long did it take you to write altogether?
That's writing. The text is very short, as you know. So I think that took about a month or something, And actually, it was kind of interesting the way I was writing it. I'd be half asleep and I'd have some rhyming couplet and I just scribble it down. And I kind of put it together over about a month. And then the actual illustration took 6 years. But I mean, I wasn't serious until the last for the first 3 years, I really wasn't serious. It was just a kind of pet project. And then, it's kind of a catharsis, I think, a lot of this stuff. It's probably a catharsis for you to do this as well, because you just get such anger from the matrix of lies. It just helps to kind of push back against it. So, 6 years of kind of working after, I working full time, of course, as an English teacher, and then working after school and then on weekends. But, I'm not, or back then I was far less, how would I say, self-controlled, self-realized, self-actualized than I am now. And so I was really, not working effectively at that time.
The drawings, the details are just incredible. If it's okay with you, we could just go through a little bit here. Like the first page, I'm not going to go through every page, don't worry. But the first page is there's a strong introduction of hard-hitting books. I've got Anatomy of the State by Rothbard, On the Road by Jack Kerouac, Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley, which I've got right here behind me.
Yep, I see that.
Shrugged by Ayn Rand, Brave New World, of course. And I didn't know this one. I probably did, but I didn't realize. The collectivism one. And I hadn't noticed it at first because it's kind of dark. But
the theory practice of oligarchical collectivism. By Daniel Goldstein, right?
It's a fictional book. It is what they call the book in 1984 by George Orwell. Yeah, fascinating. Is there any particular reason you chose those particular books?
Well, On the Road is obvious, right? Because it's sort of a prelude to the journey that Humphrey takes. I think at that time, I'd sort of finished reading Ayn Rand's work. And so, and it's also, I tried to select something that, like what I was trying to do is give people sort of inroads into. So I chose Anatomy of the State because it's a very short book,
Yeah.
which people who are politically minded could probably get into and get a quick understanding of what people have, what problems people have when they complain about the state,
Yeah.
And a sort of introduction to anarcho-capitalism. And then Ayn Rand's work is better for people who are more fictionally minded. I mean, not fictionally minded, but you know what I mean.
More objectively minded.
Do non-fiction. Yeah. And Tragedy and Hope, I mean, I have that upstairs as well. And I mean, I have not read the whole thing, but I've read parts of it.
Same here.
It's a really heavy book to try and read, right?
Yeah.
And so there's that. And what was the other one?
Brave New World, which...
Brave New World, yeah, again, like a, yeah.
I mean, 1984 and Brave New World are almost cliche in, it's, I did not realize that book, that was a fictional book, 1984. I think they're perfect, for an introduction, because that sets the stage for someone, because it's not discreet. But Tragedy and Hope, the lessons behind Tragedy and Hope with that Carol Quigley wrote with Cecil Rhodes and the Round Table. It's everything that's happening today is an accumulation of, what's explained in these books. So I thought that was just brilliant, what you did there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Huxley was absolutely correct. I don't know if you know this quote where he said, like, well, my vision of the future is far more likely than Orwell's or something like that. I forget what he said. He said, like,
didn't he write a letter to Orwell, basically saying, or no, vice versa? Didn't Orwell write a letter to Huxley saying, yeah, your version is probably right? I'm not sure.
But I mean,
there was definitely a letter. But
I remember the direct quote, like from a Huxley interview, where he said, "You can do anything with." Well, he was quoting somebody else actually. You can do anything with bayonets, but sit on them, and that's very true. So I mean, force will take you so far, but I mean, it cannot be sustained, and so, in a way, we've got a kind of combination of 1984 and Brave New World. Got the surveillance state of 1984, and we got we've got all our little personal surveillance devices here, right?
Exactly. Yep. Little snake in your pocket.
Yeah. But all the other stuff regarding sort of the appeal to baser elements of human nature, which are demonstrated in Brave New World. Of course, that we can see that all around us now, the sexualization of society and everything like this. Yeah.
Very good. I have to ask you, is that a reference on the second page, Humphrey's by the Door? Is that a reference to Stairway to Heaven?
It is.
Yeah. Very good.
It's not Stairway to Heaven. That image which is in there, which is called the Hermit, the actual picture, you got it inside it's on the Led Zeppelin 4 album cover is the picture of the Hermit, and he is the light bearer. It's somebody who has spent look at all the books behind you, Chris. I mean, obviously you spend a lot of time by yourself reading, and I mean that is
as much as I can.
Yeah, that's where illumination occurs. Of course, we have to have conversations with each other, but I mean, you have to spend a lot of time reading by yourself, and that's what the reference is too. Yeah,
that's great. Do you happen to remember? There's a symbol on the door, and it's I suppose it's Japanese. Do you happen to remember what that means?
Yeah, that's Shinjitsu, which is truth. Truth in Japanese.
I like it. Yeah, truth. Yeah,
so it's sort of going through the door of truth. So it's like a symbol of Humphrey leaving. Well, you can see on the left side, there's a picture of Humphrey with his family, and kind of autobiographical because that's my family, all as dogs, and I am the Rollerdog, right? So, like, leaving leaving the matrix, going through the door of truth, as it were,
That's brilliant. I did not catch that. Yeah, there you go. Opening the door to truth. I love it. Yeah, and yeah, again, just all the references, like he's going through on the road. There's a reference to nanothermites, which was found in the dust in what was left over of 9/11. You know, the proof of explosives. The toad, for me, represents statism. Am I interpreting that correctly?
I based it on Dick Cheney, actually.
Yeah, kind of looks like
I based the hair and everything on Dick Cheney. Yeah, it's just, you know, well, the state will always utilize high IQ. Are you familiar with cluster B disorder?
Not.
Okay, so cluster B is what refers to psychopathy, narcissism, and borderline personality disorder. So there's a lot of, you know, high IQ psychopaths who are always used by power, established power, to do their bidding. You know, the cluster B disorder is a kind of, well, it's a low functioning, or you could say malfunctioning amygdala, which is the part of the brain which is responsible for receiving or processing visual stimuli and working out if it's dangerous or not. Fear response, empathy, many other things, right? So there's people who have low functioning amygdalas. They're unable to have empathy for others, but their actual brain structure is you know, they're very intelligent, right? And so you can see, I mean, I'd say, just to pull a name out of the air, Macron is a classic kind of, you know, high IQ, verbally adept psychopath. But there's many of them. Obama probably, Trump is definitely.
All the heads of state come to mind when you.
Yeah. All of them. So
is that a prerequisite to become a head of state?
Yeah. I mean, this is. Yeah, I mean, nobody who actually has a kind of a normal, healthy brain, you know, wherein you're sort of able to care about others, is going to make it to any level of power in the establishment structure, right? So that's just what it is. It's just a symbol of that. I based the hair on Dick Cheney, but I didn't really think about it much.
I had not noticed that. Yeah.
Right.
That's brilliant. Yeah, because he's got the Republican and Democrats, you know, on each side. So very.
I mean, is there really a difference at this point? I mean, of course there's window dressing type differences, but at the base, there's no difference between.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, I mean, we could spend 10 hours interpreting this. I just skip into this is interesting. This is not necessarily a question, but you know, your the lowrider scene where he's in the city, and there's a sign here that says Maggie Sanger's Planned Parenthood weeding out the weeds. I've got the original quote here, and yeah, that's where it comes from. This was from April 8th, 1923, the New York Times. She was talking about birth control, and she said, quote, "It means the release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society and the gradual suppression, elimination, and even extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization." You know, I mean, there it is.
As far as I know, that was, I mean, that quote is probably from a speech that she was going around America doing to various kind of groups, like KKK type groups and stuff like that. But I mean, at that time, everybody was in the KKK, right? I think Woodrow Wilson was in the KKK.
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
True. But I mean, a lot of them were.
Maybe from the New York Times, 1923. So
yeah.
She was she was a eugenicist all around. But you know, I like there's that reference. That reference, if you're not familiar with that story, would go over the heads of a lot of people. I mean, this is an example of how you keep going through the book again and again. You're just always noticing things that you did not. Here's a question for you. In the next one, you've got the misogynistic alpha male type in the truck driver in the form of the bear.
Yeah, I guess he is. Yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to be misogynistic. I meant him to be just hypocritical. You know, you always get these kind of fat guys who are like, oh, no fat, no fat bitches kind of stuff, right? And it's just like,
that was my
have
interpretation.
you looked at yourself recently? But yeah.
Hypocritical. I love this, Simon. This is great. But my question is, on the water tower, you've got the chemistry written out, and I had to look it up. Hexafluorosilicic acid.
Well, thank you for your conscientiousness that you did. Obviously, a very conscientious guy who looked it up. But yeah. Hexafluoric acid, I think 60% or over 60% of America's water supply is what they call fluoridated, but actually is not. It's not medical grade fluoride. It's this. It's a waste product from the fertilizer industry, hexafluoric acid, and so yeah, that's what that is. Yeah.
Excellent. So
this is one of these things which is just really clown world insane that they're putting this stuff in the water supply, and I mean, even according to the official science, it's only going to have an impact on your teeth as it goes past your teeth when you drink it. I mean, once it goes into it's just like 1 second as it touches your teeth, and then it's in your body, and after it's gone into your stomach, it's not going to have any effect on you. It's just madness. It's madness. I mean, it's but I think this is one of these things. You know, are you familiar with the lobotomist? Just as an example, the lobotomist. This guy, I forget his name, but he drove around the United States in the 1960s. And do you know who I'm talking about? He had a lobotomy truck.
Asked me before 2 weeks ago, I would not know, but I know exactly. I don't remember his name, but I saw a little mini documentary about him. Yeah. And he was the one to discover how to do it through the eye. Yeah.
Yeah, with an ice pick. So I mean, he did over 3,000 lobotomies on people who were in mental institutions, just driving around in a van. And we look back on this with just absolute horror now, right? I think it's the same sort of thing. We're going to look back in the future and sort of look at the present time and think like, what, you're giving like hormones to kids, making them transgender at 4 years old, and putting this, what is just poison in the water supply. What the fuck? Like, can I swear? What were people doing? Like, it's just, insane. But
and swearing is allowed, Simon. No problem.
Okay, good. Fuck. Good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. It's just disgusting. You'll be pleased to know that I was aware of the water fluoridation problem long before we moved back to the USA. So, yeah, we get our water from a natural spring, and.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Okay. Is Texas fluoridated?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I don't even use the water here to cook. Yeah. I'll use it to wash and shower, but it's disgusting. I have some activist friends in this area who have gone to the city council several times, and the group that was in charge of making the decision, they presented the evidence and they said, look, you're right, but the FDA or whoever, if they say it's safe, they did not want to risk their own necks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that's
it's
how the whole
serious, very Kafkaesque situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the whole thing works. I mean, it's not one huge conspiracy where everybody's in the know. It's all about who's above me, and am I going to get in trouble, or am I going to get trouble? Am I going to get grief for kicking up a dust about something? And well, what can you say? It's just madness, right?
Don't drink the water.
Yeah, I mean, I think I studied it back in the past, and I mean, one of the most egregious things that it does is cause calcification of the pineal gland.
Yeah,
pineal gland is responsible for regulating so many aspects of our hormonal balance, and so And if people want a good example, I mean, in Japan, after the U.S. occupation, I think during the occupation period from 1951 or 1952, they got the Japanese to fluoridate the water, and then the Japanese took it out in 1963. It was in the water supply for about 11 years, and then the Japanese got worried about it. and of course, right? And they took it out. So I mean,
Huh.
yeah,
I didn't know that. Interesting. Yeah. Good on the Japanese.
yeah.
Yeah. And of course, there are plenty of references in the book to GMOs, which, is disgusting as, the same crime against humanity as the water fluoridation are GMOs. What's the situation with GMOs in Japan?
Well,
Is it allowed? And I suppose if it is allowed, they would have to label it, yeah?
it's not allowed. But I mean, of course, there's import food shops where, it's unregulated with the import foods. My issue with the GMOs, I don't know enough about the science to really know whether, what the actual impacts are. My issue is the fact that people are not given a choice, and the lack of labeling and everything like that, just kind of pushing these. And it's, if you look at human history, there's just so many examples of humans discovering some new technology and then, without really testing it, just releasing it into the environment or releasing it into the society, and then just having massive blowback from it, years later. And that's the issue I have, with the GMO stuff. So,
and as far as I know, the USA is it the only country that doesn't label still? I'm not sure. Are there any other countries that don't have to label it? I don't know offhand.
Yeah, I don't know. I obviously, I mean, you got what's the company? Monsanto and
Bayer Monsanto now.
Yeah, Bayer Monsanto, and the other one that I can't
Syngenta
remember
is the other one.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, these guys just, have so much influence over the U.S. Political system that I would guess it's going to be very difficult to get labeling pushed through. Yeah, but
yeah, it's a never-ending revolving door.
Full
of scumbags. When we go shopping here, it was easy to avoid living in Spain because they did have it in Spain, but it was clearly labeled. Okay, can't argue with that. But in the USA, unless the ingredients are absolute non-GMO certified, you can't trust it. And even then, it wouldn't surprise me if there's some kind of loophole there where they're able to get it to us. But it's kind of crap because when you do go out to a restaurant, which we do every once in a while, you just know that you're getting a mouthful of GMOs. You just know it. There's a chain here called Chipotle, which they claim all their ingredients are non-GMO, and I think that's good. But I mean, maybe as people become more aware of this issue, there'll be more business opportunities for restaurants like that. But yeah. I'm skipping forward here. Here's a reference to the MK Ultra Monarch mind control.
You got it. Oh, well done. Really? You're talking about the Las Vegas one?
Yeah.
Right.
Monarch programmed kitty. I mean, we see that. I mean, I can't prove it, but that stuff's still going on.
I would say that it's I would say that it's gone. It's left the testing lab and it's now out in the society now. I mean, you just look at the
on TV.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have to tie a kid up and rape them in a dark room somewhere. I mean, you can just have this kind of extremely sexualized. I have a young daughter, she's 5, and I mean, I'm very, very careful about policing what they watch, because I canceled the Netflix account because I just, they were watching something one time. I was cooking, and then I came in and I watched it. I was like, what is this? It's just like, oh my God. It's got a lot of kind of hidden sexualization, just princesses who, I'm not going to go into it, and I'm not going to sound like a prude. I'm not a prude, but I'd say that kind of sexualization of children is obviously left the testing lab and is out now rife in the society, right? I mean, it's just everywhere. So it's not good for kids at all. And
then you've got YouTube. You know, YouTube is banning anyone who speaks the truth now. And maybe even some people who don't speak the truth, but either way, yet they're allowing things like ElsaGate. Do you remember ElsaGate?
it rings a bell, but I don't know what is that.
Again, it was just all these innocent, seemingly people dressed up as Disney fictional characters, like in their own house. But yeah, they were starting. It was just they were doing scandalous things, you know, getting on the toilet and having a baby, a little Spider-Man baby. I don't know. It was just sick, twisted stuff, and some parents caught on about that, and it created quite a ruckus.
Right. Okay. I think I know what you mean. Yeah, this is the thing that happened last year with all the kind of sexualized videos for kids on YouTube, which were sort of just
Yeah, and they're still out there. But yeah, I mean Netflix. But yeah, keep your kid. Don't let your kids go loose with YouTube either, because I think it's honestly my kids. I have let them loose on YouTube before, keeping an eye on, and I swear it's just designed to inevitably draw them into these really dodgy channels that you know it's like no, don't trust it. You know.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it is. My interpretation is it's not so much a design. It's just, I mean, when a society is kind of turning and well, in decline, these are inevitably symptoms which are going to come out of decline phase, right? So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
There's
yeah.
some stuff I want to talk, like maybe we can talk about it later about like regarding more generally autonomy and self-governance and pornography and these kinds of things.
Yeah, interesting.
Maybe I can just, yeah. Maybe I'll just mention it now if I can. I've come to sort of think recently, I mean, that pornography is one of the most destructive things, you know, that has actually happened in our culture. It's you know, the sexual urge, especially in men, is inherently linked to the drive to achieve, you know, and to our life drive, right? And so every year the Alexa, you know, survey comes out and porn sites dominate, you know, and it's causing a huge amount of young men to, well, just basically underachieve and not do anything with their lives because they're just masturbating over, you know, images of women.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly destructive. So, and I wanted to say, like, we're obviously talking to a small audience of people who want to better themselves. If you are jacking off to porn, you really got to stop, like, or at least control yourself, do something, you know, masturbate over still images rather than video images to start with, and then start using your imagination thereafter. And it will, you know, there's a bunch of websites which are trying to help people with porn addiction. But I sort of think that it's one of the main issues, even though it sounds kind of ridiculous and small, it's actually a really big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I tend to agree. I've heard, I mean, if you think about it, boys will not know, they won't even know how to talk to women. Do you know what I mean? Their social skills will go downhill if they're spending all their time in, you know what I mean? For one thing, getting out there and actually interacting with people in real life, that is becoming a lost art, especially for young people, where this is the negative side of technology. Absolutely. Yeah, good point, Simon. Very good. What that comes to mind, do you remember the film Something About Mary, where Ben Stiller, he was wanking to, it was a lingerie ad from Sears or something, in the women were
yeah. I do remember he gets semen on his ear or something, and she puts it in her hair, right?
Yeah. But yeah, maybe that maybe from that point on it all goes downhill.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to point out, at the end of it, you've got quite a few military vehicles with RSHA on them. What does that stand for?
Oh God, that's German. It's I can't think of the German. It's basically the German for Homeland Security, which is the name of the the version of Homeland Security underneath the Third Reich.
Okay. Yeah, I would not have known that. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because it's quite. Yeah, you see it on all the vehicles and I believe some of the planes. And I like how you have the blimp here, which says Panopticon, which is arguably what we're living in now with, with the rise of technocracy and AI. We are living in a panopticon. That is exactly what we are in. So,
yep. They can access. I forget that. I'm not a big tech guy, but I know that basically, nothing is secure, right? Your emails are not secure. Your so many aspects of tech are not secure, right? So, if people want access to your stuff, they can get it. So.
Exactly. And this was proven by an NSA whistleblower. He was interviewed, I believe, in the Peace Revolution podcast, episode 85, I believe.
You talking about Binny?
Maybe. I can't remember his name. But he was saying, if you're targeted, if they target you, that's it. They'll know more about you than you will know about yourself. Everything you've ever done, everywhere you go, anything. Credit card, every monetary exchange you've made. And
talking about Edward Binney, I think his name's Edward. He was kind of the Snowden was the guy who was marketed as the and I'm kind of suspicious of Snowden. I mean, nobody gets a Hollywood film made about them without being a bit of a limited hangout or something.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I think his name was Binney. His name is Binney, but I forget his first name. But he was the original kind of Snowden who was actually the real deal. I would say it was probably him.
The airplanes in the Panopticon scenery that you painted, very similar to those in Pink Floyd's The Wall. Was that influence there?
No, the original is just up there. Actually, you can sort of see.
Okay. Yeah. I can kind of see the
no, they're drones. They're the they're based on the I forget the name of the drone.
The drone that hit the Pentagon.
Actually, Ryan Dawson convinced me that was actually a plane, so I'm not sure. I don't know about the Pentagon stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with Ryan Dawson's work, but I mean,
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, so he I don't know. I don't know. I don't really care actually about whether a plane hit the Pentagon or not. It's sort of gone past the point of whether that matters. But I don't know. He had stuff on his website which he showed me, which was he lives in Japan too. But I don't know.
And that leads to my last reference there. Actually, I noticed on my second to last reference, the airplane American Airlines N644AA, and I looked that up, and that is the plane that supposedly hit the Pentagon.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're very conscientious. That's good. You're the type of person that I wrote this book for.
Well, because you just know all the smallest minute details are likely to have some kind of reference. And finally, Humphrey's made it to the beach. I see he's made a little girlfriend here. I'm happy for him. And I see I counted 11 voluntarist flags. Yeah. Would you consider yourself a voluntarist these days?
Not anymore. I mean, yes, but it's an ideal which I understand will not be achieved. And this is something I wanted to say actually is one of the big changes that I have in my own politics since I published that book is an understanding that right-wing libertarianism will be absolutely crushed in the face of left-wing authoritarianism. And we have obviously the society is trending towards authoritarianism, regardless, just because of technology, because of many aspects. Libertarian. I mean, right-wing libertarianism is what I wish for. It's
Yeah.
what I want. That
Yeah.
it's not necessarily something that can actually be, you know,
Carried out.
well, I just doubt it will be achieved, you know. And so, yeah, that's we're going towards an authoritarian system. I prefer that it was not going in that direction, but yeah, I don't see any other. I don't see it realistically trending any other way. So
you should come hang out with us in Autonomy 1. It might boost your optimism a little bit. Yeah. No,
yeah,
it's,
I mean, if you're able to get a sort of, you know, a geographical region where you're able to sort of defend that region and then have that type of state within it. I mean, I do think that America is heading towards balkanization at some point.
yeah.
And I guess that it's probably going to come sooner than people realize. I would say probably, you know, within the next 20 years, the United States is going to start splitting up into separate regions. In many ways, it already is, although, you know, that's just, it's not officially so. Yeah, I would still say, you know, in a utopian world, it's what I wish for, but in reality, it's not going to be achievable.
Very good, Simon. So you're just a bit of a plug in here. So your book is at Simon Krimms, no, is it? No, it's Krimms.com. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And people can, I mean, I don't care about money so much. You know, so people can download it for free, and the PDF is free. There's also a video version I did on YouTube. So yeah, but you know, my ultimate
properly digest the book. I think you need it in hand. You know.
Well, if you're going to read it to kids, yeah, and I mean, the reason I created it was for people like you who are conscientious enough to go through and work out the details inside there. That's the adult side. And then you've got your kids, and hopefully they are going to, you know, ask you questions, and you can start a conversation based on their questions. And you know, that's what the intention was. Yeah.
Any future projects going on with you?
Yeah, I'm working on my next book. It's a much bigger project. It's going to take quite a few years. It's a coloring book. Yeah, that's. Then I've got other stuff going on as well, but that's the main thing that I'm working on artistically.
Yeah, that's great. So it's a coloring book, you say?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I look forward to it. You have to keep us posted.
And people can color it themselves. So it's a kind of similar thing to Rollerdog, except much. I mean, this one is 7,000 words. So it's going to end up being a few hundred pages with illustrations. And then people can color it themselves if they wish. You know. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Simon, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Not really. I mean, just regarding autonomy, one of the big changes in my understanding of the world since I published Rollerdog is that kind of rabid individualism is actually quite a negative thing if you are going up against groups which have a more collectivist kind of sense of themselves.
Yeah.
And that must be understood. Individualism is great, and it's given Europe and the West enormous power, but it will fail spectacularly if you are competing with groups which have a collectivist sense of themselves. And so we want to retain that individualism, but also have a collective sense about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. I you know, individuals, but in a voluntary society could create and gain momentum as power, you know, as a unit of power. But like you said, to face the authoritarian left, is going to take some serious, exponential steps to be able to confront this machine, that this technocratic nightmare that we are currently living in, and that most people have no idea about. You know, everything's hunky-dory and everything they see on the news is true. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I know it's been a long time since I was in the States, so I'd have to, you know, I don't know. I guess you're correct that most people are kind of in that mindset. I would say that in response to that, I think that the point of no return has been passed, and that people who are, well, in our frame of mind or with our understanding should be looking to abandon the ramparts and look after themselves and their family.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're in a major city and you have, you know, young kids, or you're looking to have children in the future, I would think like probably you should be looking to move to a more country area and start trying to become more self-sustainable, because I don't see that the current system is going to be sustainable. I think things are heading towards balkanization and collapse in certain areas. And
I can confirm that that is a hot topic right now for those who know what's going on. I've never met someone who has taken the metaphorical red pill and has high ambitions to move into the city from the country. Yeah, everyone is looking to get out. Have you heard of a podcast you might like? He's based in Texas. It's called the Survival Podcast. His name's Jack Spirko.
I've heard the name.
Yeah. He a lot of, you know, he's not so philosophical, even though he is very much in the mindset of what we're talking about, what Rollerdog is about. But he gets down to where the rubber meets the road. He gets down to details, specific things you can do for whatever project you've got going on. And I recommend it if if you're ever interested in getting in any of these projects done for anybody.
Yeah, I mean the most you can minimize your dependence on the state and on the kind of the system, the economic system and everything. You know, our the very convenient life that the modern state has created for everybody. I mean, if you think that's going to be sustainable going forward into the future, then, well, disregard everything I say. But I don't think there's a lot of hope that, you know, things can continue as they are forever. And so if I was living in the United States, I would be kind of looking to, well, simplify and countrify my life. Yeah. Sort of,
Right.
are you familiar with Owen Benjamin?
No, I'm not. Who is he?
He's a comedian he used to be quite a famous, or he is still quite famous, but I mean, he used to be a mainstream comedian who was on, you know, Comedy Central and all these other things. And then, you know, a few years ago, he moved out to, I think, Washington State and started a farm, started a family.
Huh.
So, and he's actually quite, you know, he's a very, very intelligent guy. And I would recommend that people, you know, he's very funny as well. So people should go and watch him. And he's got lots of goats and chickens, and he's got kids and dogs and everything. And yeah, I think that's a great example of the type of thing that people should be looking to do.
I'm definitely going to check him out. Yeah, Owen Benjamin.
Yeah.
And we know some people up there in Washington State. So,
Yep.
Simon, I appreciate your time today. Thanks a lot, man.
No, thank you. It's been good fun. Thank you.
Cool.